Hi, third grade. It's Miss Frannis, and we're going to be working with fiction call numbers today. So you are going to be the librarian, and you are going to put those books in alphabetical order by the first three letters of the author's last name. Except since we're practicing, we're actually going to work with 2 letters, but normally it would be 3. So we are just going to practice how to put those books on the shelf. And the reason why we do this is because, oh my goodness, the worst thing to do is misplace a book and misshelve a book, and that can happen. And if that book gets misshelved, it is so hard to find it. So that is why it's so important to know those call numbers, know the address of the book, know where that book belongs, so you can put it back on the shelf where it belongs, and then you can find it again. So I'm just going to step away over here, and I hope you've all printed out your sheet, and we're going to be working with these fiction call numbers. It says books have addresses just like houses do. A house has an address so people can find it. A book has an address for the same reason. A book's address is called its call number, and it helps people find it on a bookshelf. The call number can be found on the book's spine. If a book is fiction, it will have an F on its spine with the call number. The F stands for fiction, and the book will be placed in the fiction section of the library. Fiction call numbers are made up of the first 2 letters of the author's last name. Here it is the first 3 letters of the author's last name, but since we're practicing today, we're only going to work with 2 letters. Fiction books are placed on the bookshelf in alphabetical order by their call numbers. So remember, ladies and gentlemen, we find the call number on the spine of our book. Oh, trying to get that there. There we go. So you can see that this one says E-K-E-A because this is by Ezra Jack Keats, and those are the first 3 letters of his last name. So our E-books are on the Everybody shelf, which is the shorter shelves. Our fiction books, F-I-C books, are on the taller shelves. And you are lucky enough where you could check out on either shelf. So we have 2 examples below. And normally in our library, we would have F-I-C all in capital. And usually it's in capital letters, but today it's going to just be in lowercase. And we see that Jeff Carpenter wrote Ants in My House, a fiction book. If you weren't sure if it was fiction or not, you could look at the spine for an F or F-I-C. What 2 letters do you think you would find under the F? The spine of the book would look like this. So we would have F-I-C and then C-A, and in our library we would put an R. And then the second example is My Night on Pluto was written by Fawn Faraway. It is a fiction book. What 2 letters make up its call number? Look at the spine. Is it correct? So we have first letters of her name are F-A-R, and we would change this if we were in the library, and it would be F-I-C, F-A, and we could add an R there. So that is how it would be in our library. But today we're just going to work with 2 letters just to kind of get used to working with fiction, working with putting them in alphabetical order, because it can get hard with 3 letters. So today we are going to order it up. You are going to be the librarian here at Mary Queen School. You're going to look at the book spines below. These are not in alphabetical order. We have to figure out what order they should be in. We're going to write a first, second, and third underneath the books to show what order they would be in on the bookshelf. The first one has been done for you. So you see the first one has FBA for fiction, FZA for fiction, and FRA for fiction. So obviously, if you were the librarian, you would know right away that these books are not in alphabetical order. They would be so messed up on the shelves if they looked like this. The first one is right, BA. Of course, B is at the very beginning of the alphabet, so that would be first. RA would be second, and then that would be followed by ZA, which would be third. So that is how our shelf would look in the library. We're gonna do number 2, and it's kind of weird how they did this. So number 2 is actually over here, and then it goes 3, 4, 5, 6. So it's a little different how they numbered it, but we'll just follow along. So our next set of books, we have, of course, 3 fiction books. So we know they're going to be put on the shelf by the letters of the author's last name. We have FOB, FEB, FAB. So I'm going to give you a moment to see if you can figure out what book would go first, what book would go second, and what book would go third. If you said AB is first and EB is second and OB is third, you would make a fabulous librarian, because that's how it would go. We would have to turn those books all around and make sure that they go on the shelf in alphabetical order. So our third set of books here, we have our fiction SN, we have our fiction ON, and our fiction AN. And remember, since they're fiction, we have to put them in alphabetical order. So I'm going to give you guys a second to figure out what would go first, second, and third. And remember, if you don't have enough time, you can always pause the video, and then you can hit play when you are done. If you said FAN is first, you were correct. If you said FON is second, you are correct. And if you said FSN is third, you would make a fabulous librarian. We have another set of books we need to put in alphabetical order according to the author's last name. We have our fiction RO, our fiction ZO, and our fiction TO. And when we're talking about fiction call numbers, we actually spell out the call numbers. We just don't say row, zo, two. We would actually say, fiction RO, fiction ZO, fiction TO. So I'll give you a second to complete that. This one's a little harder. If you said FRO as first, you are correct. FTO is second, and FZO is third. You would make a fabulous librarian. I'm just going to move the paper up a little bit here. We're in our fifth set of books, and we have fiction IT, we have fiction AT, and we have fiction ST. So looking at those, how would we put those in alphabetical order for second and third? If you said FAT is first, you are correct. If you said FIT is second, you are correct. If you said FST is third, you are correct. We have another set of books over here. We have FDI, we have FWI, and we have FJI. So we need to put those in alphabetical order. If you said FDI is first, you were correct. If you said FJI is second, you are correct. If you said WI is third, you would make a fabulous librarian. We have 4 more sets of books to get in alphabetical order. Boy, our shelves were a mess. So thanks for helping, because it is a big job to get them in alphabetical order. So our 7th set here says Fiction BR, Fiction TR, and Fiction TO. Uh-oh, we have 2 with the same letter, so that means of course we have to look at the second letter to help us in alphabetical order. So I'll give you a second to think about that and put those in for second and third order. Well, the first one should be pretty easy. You know that it would be Fiction BR would be first. Second and third get a little more tough. If you said Fiction TO as second, you would be correct. If you said Fiction TR as third, you would be correct and your shelf would be perfect. Our next set of books is Fiction PI, Fiction DI, and Fiction MI. I'll give you a second to get those in order. If you said Fiction DI is first, you are correct. If you said Fiction MI is second, you are correct. If you said Fiction PI is third, your shelf would be perfect. We have our 9th set of books here. We have Fiction MU, Fiction LU, and Fiction PU. Hey, PU, that's funny. Let's put those in alphabetical order. You said Fiction LU is first. You are correct. If you said Fiction MU is second, you are correct. And if you said Fiction PU is third, you are correct. Your shelf would be perfect. We have our last set of books. We've put a lot in alphabetical order, and this is our final set. So we have Fiction NA, Fiction MA, and Fiction HA. So what would be first, what would be second, and what would be third? If you said Fiction HA would be first, you were correct. If you said Fiction MA would be second, you are correct. If you said Fiction NA would be third, you would be correct. That means you would have a perfectly organized library where everybody could find their fiction books and not hunt all over for them, because they are all in alphabetical order. So boys and girls, I hope you understand a little bit more about how fiction books are shelved, and I will see you next week. Bye.